Truth is stranger than fiction. When it gets too hot in your kitchen.
What is the Committee of 300?
The Committee of 300, there's many different theories about what it's all about, but one of the tasks they have is like a black nobility. But in that, when you start finding out who the members are, it's just mind-blowing, like unreal who is gathering in this group. Because you got people like Bill Gates, you got people like many royalties, many people that are part of the Bilderberg group and on a very high level. But also one of the people I tracked down is an Italian mass murderer called Stefano della Chiaia. He has been very central in the whole strategy of tension, what we talked about before. He was sentenced for the train bombs in Bologna, blowing up loads of people. His name, when you really look into this guy's background, it's like a dictionary of terror on a global scale. He's been passed around among the dictators, used as an assassin and so on. And he was also part of the Olof Palme assassination in 1986. And this guy is there right between Bill Gates and Vito. And by the way, Olof Palme as well, the Swedish Prime Minister, was also a member of the Committee of 300. But one of the tasks, as far as I have been able to find out, is how to get all the banking system into one global bank.
Yeah. And they're pretty close to achieving that, are they not?
Yeah, they've been targeting country by country, going for the central banks. It's the whole money scam. Once you start getting into that one, hold your horses and hold to your hat, because that is just like unreal. That fraud will just blow you away if you don't know about that.
Well, that's
but
right.
The way they get away with it, it's only by controlling the central bank. They need the center of the whole banking system in that country to be able to pull this one off, because they need to control all money in and out of all different banks.
See, this is really important. I personally think this is a key area because money affects everyone. It affects everyone. So just explain to me and everyone else what you mean by the money scandal, the money scam, financial thing that's going on right now.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a wonderful. It's
so clever.
Okay. It is so clever, and at the same time, it's unreal that we have not figured it out. Really, we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, how asleep can you get?
Yep.
They even put it right there in front of you. Mortgage, it means mortgage, it means death.
Yeah. That's
okay.
Right.
The way they've done it is that the whole system is created on debt. Okay. And in Swedish and Danish and so, the word debt means guilt. So it's totally associated with the guilt feeling that I am a bad person if I cannot pay my debt. So they brought that one in as well. So the way they do it is that you want to buy a car, for instance. You say, I don't have the money, let me go to the bank. The bank is allowed to loan, it's different for different countries, but if we say that the bank, this is a normal type of thing, that they're allowed to lend out, if they have $10,000, they're allowed to lend out 100,000. They only need 10,000 in real cash in the bank vault to be able to lend out 100,000.
That's right. So in English, it's called fractional reserve banking, is it not? Fractional reserve banking?
Yeah. So the idea is that you go there and you feel like, I'm just a tiny little person here, and you are the big bank. Please allow me to borrow some money. They will then look at you and say, but can we really trust you? Can we really? Yeah, I'm a really good guy, and I've done all of this and all of this. I've got all of this stuff you can take from me if I do not pay. And then the bank say, if you got enough stuff for them to take, they will say, okay, you will be allowed to lend the money. They're so kind. But what they do is they actually, what they do, they write you a check in the old days, a piece of paper where they say, we will then, let's say that you need to lend 100,000. Okay, 100,000 to buy a big car or a house or something like that. So they write 100,000 based on the 10,000 they have in the bank vault. So they have actually, just by writing this check, created 90,000 out of thin air. Okay. Nowadays, it's so much easier because it's just digital. They did in your account, and when they press enter, boom, that's 90,000 out of thin air. This is money that did not exist before they clicked the button enter. Okay, so you are so grateful that you say, oh my God, I have 100,000 here on this piece of paper. I don't dare to walk around with it, because my God, if somebody robs it, so I will give it to the person who sells me the house or car or whatever it is, and he will freak out and say, oh my God, all this money, I need to put it in the bank.
That's right.
So by controlling the central bank, it doesn't matter what bank you go to, because it will go back into the central bank system. And whatever bank that you put, or the seller that has just received 100,000, where 90,000 was out of thin air, he then goes to a bank, put it in, and says, please put this into my account. They then digitally, blah, 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 enter, boom, puts it into his account. So actually now, officially, there's 100,000 new money, newly created money in their bank accounts, which gives them the authority to lend out 1 million
That's right.
euros to the next one.
That's right.
And it just goes on and on and on. If they cannot control the central bank, they cannot do this scam, because then I just go to another bank. I give you the finger and I say, I go to my bank, no problem. I put it in my bank, and that bank will then take care of me. But if you control the central bank, the rest of us are screwed.
That's right.
We are screwed. And also what they do, it gets even better. They print the money. And every time, for instance, in the States, you have this absolute super criminal organization called the Federal Reserve Bank. It is, oh my God, it's like Al Capone and these guys that you're afraid of, I can't go to sleep. There's awful people like Al Capone. He was like a in the boy choir when you compare the level of criminality. Mm-hmm. So what they do, these guys,
brilliant.
They print the money, and every note they print is added to the national debt. Mm-hmm. So if you say, if you, the president, say, well, I need $2 million to buy more bombs. Okay, the federal bank will say, not a problem at all. Get the printers going. They print 2 million of absolute useless paper that is created out of thin nothing, gives it to the president. From that second, it is delivered. $2 million is added to the debt of the taxpayers, mm-hmm. not the president, not anyone else, the taxpayers. It is always us that gets our butt burned.
Well, that's right. And the governments then distribute it to their buddies. Okay, yeah. And they drive nice cars, some go on planes, some go helicopters, and they give a bond to the Federal Reserve, which is a kind of a payment, a security loan document that this Federal Reserve will guarantee the return on their investment. But the debt, which is being sold around the world, is consumed by me, you, our children. Our debt today is our children's debt tomorrow, and that's where we're at. That's correct, isn't it?
But who do we owe the money? To who do we owe the money? Listen, if the states, they are the ones who've been lending out so much money, how can they lend out money when they're in such despair themselves, mm-hmm. they say? Mm-hmm. How come every single country is buried in debt? Mm-hmm. Because the system. I've just told you. It's not that you go to a rich guy and he lends out. No, no, no. As soon as they print money, as soon as they deliver the money, it adds to the debt. We are totally drowning in debt that is created out of thin nothing. What we should do is give a massive big finger to when they say you owe us.
Yeah.
I owe you a big fat kick in the butt.
Yeah.
That is what I owe you. And organized crime, the word organized crime has never been more appropriate than when you look upon the money fraud. Because it is, I mean, sometimes I feel like my head is coming to a meltdown when you think of when you look at people struggling, when you see schools being shut down, when you see 54% unemployment, when you see all of this, everybody's struggling, everybody's doing their best. And then you see, but please wake up.
Yeah, that's right.
Smell the coffee, understand. Go to the bank and say, listen, guys, I have this bank loan, but I would very much like to know, where did you get the money from?
Yeah, that's
because
right.
If you just made that up, that is fraud, you know. If I do that, I would be sentenced and put away. You are a bank and you have made a fraud that has put me into debt tyranny, debt enslavement. So I would very much like to you, please present the evidence where you got this money and I will keep paying. If not, I will once again give you the golden finger, you know.
Because it's basically promissory notes, aren't they? Fiat currency is promissory notes.
That means absolute baloney. It means empty air.
Yeah.
It
It's
is
an
like
IOU.
it is like a golden fart, you know, that comes floating through the air. You think it's real. It looks golden. It is empty air, and it's really smelly once you get into where it comes from.
Truth is stranger than fiction. When it gets too hot in your kitchen. Truth is stranger than fiction. When it gets too hot in your kitchen.